Hello everyone, it's Loretta and I'm going to show you how to make your very own junk journal. This is such a beginner project because frankly I am still a beginner and I love this. I have been doing junk journaling since January of this year. It's almost June and I am just basically documenting my life. If you haven't seen my previous video where I show you a flip through of one of my journals, I'm going to show you this. This is a Polaroid zip printer. I have had this for a very long time and it prints photos that are 2 by 3 inches onto a sticky back paper. I will tell you this, the photo paper that this uses is inkless. I don't know how they do this, but it's really great pictures in the end. And they're about 30 to 40 cents a print. Of course, if you want to use the regular printing service like Walmart, they would be cheaper. However, I do like this format for my personal use. So, this is an old Reader's Digest journal. I have already gutted it, so that means I just took a knife and took out its pages. But because this has been gutted, it's also really thin. I want it to have a nice sturdy spine. In order to do that, you can just measure it. There's a big glop of glue on here. Anyway, you can measure it or you can just lay this on top and kind of eyeball it. If you want it to span the gap, you can also do that by just overlapping it, but for now, we really don't need to do that. I'm just going to take a pin. I'm going to line this up at the top and at the bottom. You can do this with scissors or a paper trimmer, whatever you'd like. I don't cut very straight, which is sad but true. So I am going to use my handy dandy paper trimmer. This is measuring in at 1.5. Nope, 7.5. So this is 1.5 by 7.5. I'm going to cut another one just because I want this to be nice and strong. As you can see, I'm just using packaging that I had on hand. To glue this into place, I'm going to use some Fabrifix glue because it's good for everything on the planet. Seriously, it's really great stuff. I've got that glued into place. Now, I happen to have some brown tape. This is used for packaging primarily. So it is extremely strong and durable. And I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces and listen to the dog play, even though I told somebody I was taping. I want these to fairly line up well, so I'm going to take my time with this. Trim this to fit. It doesn't have to be exact because you're not going to even really see it at the end of our project here. Okay, so that is now covered and we're going to go to our next step. Alright, I'm not sure if you could hear me, so I'm going to tell you that this is stuck down now with Yes paste or Yes adhesive. I'm going to do the same thing on the back side. We will be covering the spine independently. If your Yes paste starts to dry out on you, just add a little bit of water and let it sit and it will be perfectly fine. You can actually water it down quite a bit and it still doesn't bubble when you put paper and stuff on top of it. Same thing with this cover. I'm going to give myself plenty of room so that when we cover the inside, it will be good to go. I'm really glad you guys can't see my desk. However, I'm not sure what I want to do with it. How's that? Okay, we'll save this until later. We're just going to flip it over. Okay, so here it is, flipped over. And you're going to want to decide how much of this you want off. All right. I think that this is a little actually too long. Just trim a little off. It doesn't need to be straight. Once again, you're not going to see it probably. So now we have this nice and flat. You can glue this into place if you want, but you don't really need to. Just your good old score tape will do the job here. So what I'm going to do, since I don't know where my ruler is, I'm going to use my handy dandy trimmer. And what I want to do is decide how many signatures I want and how long they're going to be. This spine is 1.5, just like I like to double check even though it's covered, just to be sure the measurements are right. And it's about 7.5 inches tall. A little over 7.5, maybe 7 5/8. So what I want to do is, my signatures actually probably need to be 5 by 7 1/4. Let's make it 5 1/4 when they're finished. So I'm going to gather up some things for the signatures and we'll continue on. Okay, this is 5 1/4 by 7 1/4. And let's see if it actually needs to be shorter. And it does, I'm surprised. Okay, so it needs to be 5, maybe even less. Let's see. I already had these pages cut for a different project. Excuse me, it needs to be 7 because it's too long. So 7 by 5 1/4. And that's good. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my paper down to size. Now, I had this copy paper, is all it is, already folded. because I thought I was going to do a different kind of journal a while back, so since I didn't do the journal, I saved the pages. Anyway, you get the gist. Alright my friends, as you can see, I have all of my signatures cut down to size. I'm only putting 3 in. There is room in here to where if I want to come back later and add some more signatures, I can. Kind of doubt I will. It's been my experience here that when I think I need more pages, I don't, and I never use them, so they just sit in the journal and do nothing. So we're gonna not do that this time. First thing I want to do is really honestly find a ruler. I'm going to get a straight edge, and I'm going to eyeball this for center, which actually isn't that hard to do. You can do this with a pencil or a pen. The chances of somebody looking underneath this to see are pretty darn slim. That's going to be my first signature, which is going to be the one in the middle. And then we're going to put one on this side about 1/4 inch or so from the first. Alright, there we have those marks. They're not perfect, and I probably will move this one over, but the one in the middle looks pretty darn good. I have a crocodile, Big Bite. If you don't have one of these, go buy it. It is amazing to have in your craft room. I have mine set to 3/16, which is a small one. I actually want the big holes. No, actually I want the smaller holes. This is 1/8 of an inch. That looks like it's pretty darn centered. And what I'm going to do is go in and punch a few holes. Alright, so here are my holes for my signature. I have some bookbinding needles handy. You want this to be 3 times as long as your book cover. I apologize for the dogs barking. We have our flag up, and every time it blows in the wind, they think somebody's at the door. So they're in super protective puppy mode. As you can see, I have a lot of different needles. I'm looking for one that's got like this chiseled end on them, like that one. I'm going to leave yourself some tail. I'm going to grab my first signature. There are a bunch of ways to do this. You can measure it and hole poke it again, or you can just take your needle and find the holes that way. So I'm going to start on this side. Instead of just trying to find them, I decided I'm going to punch these as well. Put your paper where you want it and just draw a little tick mark. Alright, I'm going to continue getting these signatures into place, and then I'll show you where we are after that. Okay, we have the signatures sewn into our book. This is just an in and out kind of stitch. I don't know what it's called. I think it's actually called a pamphlet stitch, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to use some of our scraps from covering our book to cover up the spine. So this actually is measuring 7 1/4 as I recall, but I'm going to trim this down to 4 inches. Straighten this up because I just literally kind of whacked at it. I don't think we're going to need 4 inches. I think we're only going to need 3, but for now we're going to cut it to 4. So what I'm going to do is just take my finger and crease it right there so that I know where to cut it for the top of this book. I'm just going to pick the whole thing up and smooth it right around that spine. Find that you don't like this much on there, you can always undo it with some undo adhesive remover. I have a bunch of ribbon and lace and trims that I bought from a local thrift store. I'm going to use it to cover up any mistakes that I've made. I'm going to use my Fabric Fix for this job because this is lace. Since it is fabric, it will do the job perfectly. Alright, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to use this little scrap of paper, fold it in half. And we're going to use this as a guide to make some holes for our closure. This is a little bow maker from We Are Memory Keepers, which is what I should have done in the beginning. And this is how you tie the bow. You take your ribbon, okay, left over right, take it to the back, come back forward, and then this one that's in your left hand, it's going to stay still as you bring that knot around and tie it up. There's your perfect ribbon. Okay, I had a little bit of a low battery alert there, so I'm going to try to finish this up. So this is the basic construction of my journal. I'm going to be using this one in the month of June to keep up with the things that I'm wanting to do. I will be decorating this one as I go along, so I'll be adding ephemera and journaling cards and pictures and whatever. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, leave me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Share my videos on your social media. Please let me know down in the comments if you enjoy this type of video. Have a great weekend, everyone. Stay happy and be a blessing. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.